Welcome back to the Ticks and Trades channel. We're covering Tuesday, October 21st. That's this little doji candle right here. I'm making this video the next morning, Wednesday morning, but this is before the market opens, so I've got some time. So yesterday, the market seemed to spend most of the day pretty flat, moving just enough to stay interesting, not enough to tell us much about what comes next. You could basically make the case that the timing of this bearish consolidation is nearing an end, and they've got to make a decision. That's going to happen for sure. They're either going to break out or break down. We'll come back to this chart later and talk about what could happen in the near future. But first, let's look at what the plan called for on Tuesday morning. You can see the levels for the day. The bull axis was 671.30 and keeping price above that level, and ideally above 672.03, that was from Monday, would strengthen the case for continued upside. The bear axis was 670.23. So a decisive move and closes below that level would probably favor the bears. Both of those axis levels, though, were designed as reference levels rather than active trade areas. My intent was not to trade against them unless something compelling presented itself in real time. So above current price at the time was a narrow zone between 674.79, 675.28. It's a potential target if the bulls could sustain a move higher. No major data releases. There was kind of a cyclical timing thing that suggested that we might be nearing a decision point. So the game plan was pretty clear. Stay focused on the levels, look for clean setups, and remember that sometimes waiting is a position. A little screenshot of what the 1 minute chart looked like with the levels plotted before the opening bell. And here is that same chart after the closing bell. And you can see that 3 levels were hit. 2 of them were our axis levels. So the market opened slightly above that bull axis. Tested this bear axis pretty early on. The bulls held the line, managed to reclaim the entire zone, but the momentum was kind of muted at that point. So per the game plan, we're just going to see if price could stay above or below this whole area. We weren't going to trade these lighter blue levels or trade against them. There were repeated attempts to push up toward this 672.88. If you're going to trade this, you would trade it at 672.83. That's 5 cents toward price. When price finally did reach this level later in the session, it met some immediate rejection, as you can see. So that level was important. Pretty sharp move. So the level clearly mattered, but it didn't really yield an official trade under our rules. Multiple near misses here. Even this one here, the first one at 11.13, they got up to 672.73. That's 10 cents away, pulled away quite a bit. That's a near miss. What we don't know is the next time they get to the level, are they going to, at that point, have enough energy to bust through it? And another near miss right here. High was 672.80, 3 pennies away, pulled away. Enough for a base hit, it looks like. Yeah. Enough for a base hit there, and you can see what happened when they finally did hit it. But officially, it was a flat day, no valid entries. My own trading activity was limited to a discretionary setup late in the morning. I typically like to close up around 11:30, and I was getting ready to close, but at 11:40 or so, I ended up going long with 6 contracts as price bounced near that upper axis level, 671.30. And I'll show you on a 10-minute chart later what I used to confirm that trade. So let's just move ahead here to 1040. Now I did want to go short the first time they came up into 672.88. I think I had a couple contracts or a couple limit orders there. Of course, as you know, they never hit it at that point. So I canceled those orders. So it's 11:30-ish. I'm just gonna let this thing run. Let me pause this there we go. When it looked like nothing was going to happen, and I was going to close up shop. This is kind of my indication that I'm done. And right about the time I did this, I saw what they were doing. I'm looking at a 10-minute chart or other time frames on another analysis screen, and I saw something, and I thought there's probably going to be another bounce at this bear axis, and they'll attempt this 672.85 and possibly higher. So I went long right there with 6 contracts, and just an exercise in patience and let this thing develop. And I got the 8 points. I wanted to get out before they got there because I wasn't sure what was going to happen. And plus, my plan was to close up shop around 11:30 or 12 o'clock or so anyway. So there we go. Now it's a little after 12. Got the trade and immediately closed up shop, and I was done for the day. So it wasn't an official playing by the rules trade, but it was a good example of how timing and structure can validate a discretionary opportunity. Any of you guys who saw the same setup in real time could have captured a similar move. Again, I will show you what I was looking at on a different chart after we look at the tracking logs. Pretty straightforward. The playing by the rules log, no official trades for the day. Axis levels remained references only. And then over on the Sam's trades, 1 trade, a long trade as they were bouncing off of this level, 8 points, 6 contracts, $2,400 before commissions. Back to the daily chart. So the larger picture remains unchanged. The market is essentially, at least the SPY, is essentially at the top of this range that they gave us or 2 Fridays ago on the 10th of October, they've got to be decisive and either break out, which would invalidate the bearish consolidation, or we begin to roll over and confirm it by getting below the low at some point. The bulls have a difficult assignment ahead. They need to clear 674 really, that's the highs, and do it convincingly, like establish daily closes above it. And that should be pretty good for the bull case, especially if they close multiple daily candles above it. But if they can't, we could be at the beginning of another leg downward. No speculation. I'm just looking at the chart at face value, and I see a bearish consolidation that is not yet over. So we're kind of in that delicate part of the cycle where both possibilities carry weight. The next meaningful directional clue will likely not come from noise on the 1-minute chart, but from how the daily and the weekly candles close. Speaking of smaller time frames, here's a 10-minute chart of the SPY. And now there's some levels on the chart to kind of give us an idea of where we are. The vertical line here is a close of the previous day, so everything to the right of that was Tuesday's activity. This lower lighter blue line, that was the top of that zone. That was the bull zone at 671.30. And then this 672, that should be 672.88, is the target, or an actual tradable level that we had for the day. So this up candle here that happened around 10:50 or so, they're coming back down. It was approaching 11:30. This is where I was going to close up shop. Looked over here and saw that what they were doing. And when you see a pretty decent candle going up or down, in this case, it was an up candle and they're stair-stepping their way down. Look at the timing of this. It was about 6 10-minute candles. So this has been about an hour or so. They're coming down to the bottom of this candle, coming also into some moving averages. This is the 20 period. That's the orange line. The 50 period moving average is the blue line. And we had our axis level here at 671.30. And when I saw this, they were already moving out of this thing. This is an area that they could bounce from after establishing some closes above it to go higher. This is just a kind of a typical type of move here. So this is where I went long. I just want to point out, saw what was happening here, jumped on board and wanted to get out before they got up to this 672.88. So there's my 8 points right there. That's what I was looking at. Not exactly playing by the rules. It wasn't like I was looking for a counter trend trade. That would have been up here at 672.88. But knowing what you're looking at, you could have jumped on board on the long side because of this type of momentum building up based on this bullish consolidation pattern here. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. I just want to show you where that came from, what I was looking at in real time. So that wraps up the recap and analysis for Tuesday, October the 21st. Kind of a quiet day on the surface, but in markets like this, calm often precedes conviction and bigger moves. So stay focused, stay disciplined, trade well, and let's see what happens this morning. As I'm making this a few minutes after 8 o'clock on Wednesday morning, and they are probably poised to do something. We will find out soon enough. As always, thanks for watching. I hope this video helped in some way. I will talk to you again soon.